I've made a point here, and somebody corrected me right away. I don't know, may have been Kay, when I said that there are no players that are irreplaceable, because I just forgot about Rodri, didn't even think of it. But that's true in so many ways. But I don't think I'd worry about that, because they have proven in the past that once they get the rhythm, and as I've said, for me, for teams like Manchester City, or for the biggest teams in the world, the season starts when the international windows close, because up until then, you can never find the flow and rhythm of the season. And this year you have 3 of those breaks, because last year, remember, well, I guess the World Cup was such a massive break, and it was an issue for Manchester City to a degree. And I think some of these breaks are as well. John Stones is back. I think he's going to work himself into shape. I think they have so many different options that I reserve the right to talk about their issues for a little bit later. However, it's worth pointing out that this is a different Manchester City. And what would worry me just a little bit until De Bruyne gets back, we saw that lack of creativity. 4 shots on goal, some issues. Haaland with Haaland without really any chances, because of the mistakes that Pep Guardiola made ahead of this game, because he certainly contributed in a big way in terms of tactics in that loss as well. So I want to give Arsenal a lot of credit for the way they defended, but I've said this before yesterday, but I'll repeat it for the new viewers. When you go into a game against Arsenal and your strength is in wide areas, always has been, and you're facing an Arsenal team without 2 key players in a wide area, and that's Saka and Martinelli, because Martinelli didn't start the game, and you choose to battle it out in the center of the pitch, making it easier for Arsenal, then that's on you, and that was on Pep Guardiola, because why not release Walker and Guardiola playing out as a left back? That's an issue in its own. So I think Pep missed a trick there.
So City are third right now. I'm going to read you their next 6 games in the Premier League, and then I want you to tell me where you think they'll be after these 6. Brighton, Manchester United, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs. That's quite a run.
It is quite a run. And look, I'll spin this differently, because I don't want to say it doesn't matter where, how many of those games they're going to win. For me to believe that the likes of Arsenal, and I'll throw Liverpool in there, because I think those 2 can push Manchester City. Look, when we're talking about March or April, unless one of those 2 teams is, say, 9 points ahead, even games, because we've seen in the past, only then will I worry about Manchester City. I think if they stay within, we know those runs will happen for Manchester City. They're that capable. I think it's easy for us to go into these last 3 or 4 games, because they've lost 3 out of 4 in all competitions. And I think you notice that nobody's pushing that panic button. In the past, they have. Even last season, I think some teams have, although they had games in hand. So I don't see that, because that's how much I trust in this manager, and Pep Guardiola, and this team. So I don't think it's an issue. But things become tenuous sometimes. And if you go to Old Trafford and you lose that game to the Manchester United, as we see him right now, I think the alarm bells are going to sound a little bit, because I think it's okay to question not necessarily the lack of that creativity, but I think the hole left by Gundogan and Mahrez hasn't been filled just yet. But let's see what Grealish is. Had a bad start last season, came good, right? Doku, I think we've seen some good stuff from him already, and I still trust that the John Stoneses and everybody else that's kind of slowly getting back into shape are going to be fine. And De Bruyne, of course, is still to come. But these teams have to be, I almost want to say, miles ahead in March, April, before I even start believing that Manchester City can lose the title.